Hello, I'm Kirsty Young, and this is a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For rights reasons, we've had to shorten the music. The programme was originally broadcast in 1976, and the presenter was Roy Plumley.
On our desert island this week is the actor Anthony Quayle. You're a Lancashire man, Tony, aren't you?
Yes, I was born in a little place called Ainsdale, between Liverpool and Southport.
Any theatre background in the family?
None at all. Absolutely none. Father, who is a passionate amateur actor, but nothing professional at all.
Did you see a lot of theatre as a child?
Yes, my parents loved the theatre, and they used to take me from a very early age to anything that came to Southport, where we moved when I was very young, within a year or two.
Did you hear a lot of music?
No, not really. It wasn't a musical family. My mother played the piano and she sang a bit. I must say neither of them very well, bless her, but she did play and sing. And we had an old gramophone, a very early gramophone, you know, with a big horn and a handle that you wound.
Oh, yes. What's the first record you've chosen?
The first one is The Long, Long Trail. And I've chosen it because it's a reminder of that boyhood days which passed during the 1418 war and which I can remember very vividly. And I think this song sums up a lot of the heartbreak of that time.
There's a long, long night of waiting until my dreams all come true, till the day when I'll be going down that long, long trail with you.
There's a long, long trail a-winding, sung by John McCormick. Now, you went to rugby school. Any school plays?
Yes, we did one school play there, and in which I thought I was very good, and this confirmed me in a belief that I wanted to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But long before that, I'd been at a prep school, a place called Aberley Hall. Absolutely wonderful prep school. And there I'd done a lot of little boy acting, and had got terribly bitten with the idea.
Did you go to a drama school?
Yes, I went to the RADA, but though not for very long. We had really no money at all, and all sorts of family troubles had arisen, and I had to earn my money as quick as I could, and so I left the RADA after a year.
What was your first engagement, your very first engagement of all?
Well, in the vacations from the RADA, I used to go down and get various jobs at the Q Theatre, which is been pulled down. It's there no longer.
And when you left the RADA?
I did a play down at the Q, which Lee Ephraim, who was a kind of American impresario, he came and saw. He had a foot both in America and here. He put on shows like The Desert Song and Rosemarie. And he came and saw this play and said, well, young man, I have nothing really to offer you except I'm sending out a music hall sketch with a comedian called Naylor Grimson, and I think you'd be fine for the young man, and you can be the straight man to this Jewish comic. How would you like to do it? So I said, sure. So that was the first time I ever really tasted money or the music halls.
Well, it's a wonderful way to learn timing, I should think, working with music hall people.
Wonderful, and also a very quick way to recognise when you're getting the bird.
Yes, a glorious introduction to the theatre.
Absolutely wonderful. I was very young, very naive, and very innocent. I suppose I was 17 or 18. But I look back on it with a kind of nostalgia.
Let's have your second record.
Well, to remind me of this time, it's Flanagan and Allen singing Underneath the Arches, which they did every night, and I used to stand in the wings and listen to them.
Underneath the arches, we dream our dreams away. Underneath the arches, on cobblestones we lie, back to back with sleeping, tired out and bored. Sorry when the daylight comes creeping.
Flanagan and Allen. Now, what happened next? What was the next production you were concerned with?
Oh, I can't remember exactly the next production, but there were two people. Well, Gielgud was one of them, who were of enormous help to me. And he and Tyrone Guthrie, who in those early years gave me jobs and encouragement. And, well, what more encouragement can you give than a job? So I seemed to move a lot in and out of John Gielgud's companies and Tony Guthrie's, who very soon afterwards took on the Old Vic and ran it.
Yes, and you joined the Old Vic company.
Yes, I did, but not permanently. I came and I went.
You did a lot of Shakespeare in the years before the war.
Yes, I did, entirely at the Old Vic.
You were one of the Old Vic company which played Hamlet at Elsinore Castle, weren't you?
That's right. That was the first time that an English company went there. It was extraordinary. Remember, it poured with rain, and we were driven off the battlements and into the ballroom at the hotel. But it was extraordinary. That was with Olivier, Larry, and Vivian Leigh playing Ophelia. Memorable.
Let's have another record.
Well, the next record is the Nocturne from the Midsummer Night's Dream. There was a wonderful production which Guthrie did at the Old Vic of the Midsummer Night's Dream, designed by Oliver Messel, and a kind of Victorian production which suited the architecture of the theatre, and with Ninette de Valois' ballet, and it reminds me of several friends who are connected with it, who are now dead, but it reminds me, above all, of somebody who, thank God, is very much alive, which is my darling wife.
Dorothy Hyson.
Dorothy Hyson, who was playing Titania in that production. And I had known her for a long time before, but I think that was, while she was doing that, this was when some strange flash or thud or bang or explosion took place. And this is what started what has been now a marriage of nearly 30 years.
The Nocturne from Mendelssohn's Incidental Music to A Midsummer Night's Dream, the Philharmonia Orchestra, conducted by Otto Klemperer. Well, then war broke out and you had a long run of 6 years in the Royal Artillery. You had an adventurous war, didn't you, Tony? You were in Gibraltar for a long time.
Yes, Gibraltar wasn't exactly adventurous. The early part I was just in charge of some guns, and the worst enemy that we saw were bugs, which bit us rather a lot. Bed bugs and things. But later, when I got on the staff there, I slept comfortably between sheets and grew really rather ashamed of myself. But it was fascinating because it was at the time of the build-up for Torch, the landings in North Africa, and Gibraltar had become a very important staging point in the Allies' world travel. Since we couldn't fly over Europe, you had to fly round Europe, and Gibraltar was a refueling and staging point.
And afterwards you were parachuted into Albania to train guerrillas.
Well, actually, I wasn't parachuted. I did all my training to be parachuted inland and frightened myself to death jumping out of those beastly aeroplanes. But in the end, I crept in across the Adriatic in a little fishing boat and landed by sea.
Yes.
Because they sent me not inland but to a coastal area. So I did actually go by sea.
This was a very lonely job.
Yeah, damnably lonely. Some of the time one had very good friends. There were 3 or 4 of us living in a cave. And we had a certain amount of traffic passing through the cave. We had strange bodies who were being infiltrated into the country or brought out of it, both from Greece and Albania itself.
So you know what loneliness means. I'm getting back now to the desert island situation.
Yes, I do. Yes. Oh, yes.
Let's have another record.
The next record is Mozart. He is one of the composers whom I couldn't bear to be on a desert island and not to be reminded of. And I've chosen the 40th Symphony.
The opening of Mozart's Symphony No. 40, Carl Boehm conducting the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra. When the war was over and you were back in the London theatre, you started doing quite a lot of direction, which was a new departure for you. John Gielgud and Edith Evans in Crime and Punishment. Very successful revival of Vanbragh's The Relapse. That ran for a long time.
Yes, it did. It was a huge success.
And then they invited you to act and direct at Stratford. Well, that led to a very important part of your career. They invited you after the first season to take over and be the boss. And you breezed straight in with a very successful policy.
Yes, I guess so. One had got a lot of pent-up energy and enthusiasm after the war, and it seemed a wonderful chance to establish that theatre at Stratford as the foremost theatre in the English-speaking world, and I was determined to try and do it. And I started the very first year. I had a dear colleague who's now dead, in Michael Bentall, who was an enormous... Together we planned, really, the first season. And then, after that, I was alone there for, I can't remember, 4 years, I think. And then I was fortunate enough, during my period there, to be joined by Glenn Byam Shaw, who's one of my dearest friends, and I couldn't have done the last 4 or 5 years without him. Mm-hmm. And also I was extremely lucky, something to do with age, time and place, that I had a great number of friends in the theatre, very eminent, the best actors and actresses in the country, whom one could go to and say, now, come on, I'm here, don't leave me alone, you've got to come and help. Yeah. So I could go to Gielgud and Richardson and Peggy Ashcroft, with whom I'm lucky enough to be acting now, and Margaret Leighton. I mean, they're endless, the people.
Michael Redgrave, the young Richard Burton. There's a very impressive list of your friends. And even when you were playing Henry VIII, you had His Majesty King George VI to tell you how to wear the Order of the Garter.
Yes, it's true. We took him all round. It was really rather endearing. He came round and he looked... and the thing which intrigued him, in my memory most, was going into a dressing room. I took him into mine because it had been tidied up for the occasion. But there he saw these clothes laid out for the matinee of Henry VIII. And there was a garter, a blue garter. And he said, I bet you don't know how to tie that. So I said, well, maybe not. He said, all right, I'll show you how to do it. And he was so human and ordinary and natural. It was remarkable. So he had made me pull up my trousers and tied the thing round. He showed me how to make the right knot.
A very distinguished technical advisor.
Very good dresser, yes. It was a remarkable technical advisor.
You did take a little time off from Stratford to direct The Great Sid Field in Harvey. That must have been a very welcome diversion.
Marvellous, absolutely marvellous. I loved the play, and he was a remarkable actor. And what was odd was just lately, last season, I got the chance to direct it again with Jimmy Stewart. And we did I couldn't believe that 25 years had gone by.
How many years were you at Stratford?
Oh, I think it was 9.
Why did you leave?
I think partly I was getting stale with doing virtually nothing but Shakespeare. In the end, it becomes almost a chore, and you think, hello, I'm getting very stale at this. I want to get away and do other things, do films, do modern plays. This was one great feeling I had.
In fact, you began to do a lot of films which you'd never really bothered about before. You did Well, from a whole long list I've got here: Ice Cold in Alex, The Guns of Navarone, Woman in a Dressing Gown,
Yes.
Lawrence of Arabia, Anne of 1,000 Days. This led to a great deal of travelling to overseas locations.
Yes, which is marvellous. Been very fortunate. Really, well, I won't say all over the world, but Tarzan has taken me to Africa, and various films have taken me to Israel and America, Greece. Heavens! What between the films and Her Majesty's government in time of war, I've done all my travelling.
Let's have record number 5.
Record number 5 is Uffa Fox singing a sea shanty. Australia, it's called.
Why do you choose it?
When I left Stratford, for the first time, I earned a bit of money making films. And I was able to afford a boat. And first I bought a catamaran and sailed that. And then we sold the cat and we built a 40-foot ketch so that I could sail both winter and summer, whenever the chance came. And this is a reminder of those days. And also because we had this record of Uffa's. And it reminds me of funny old winter evenings singing these songs down in the cabin.
Your wife and your 2 daughters, the crew.
And my son.
And your son, of course.
Yes, oh yes.
Mid rain and hail and wind and snow, heave away, heave away, heave away, heave away. It's up aloft, for Jack must go. We're bound for Australia. Heave away, my bonny, bonny boys, heave away, heave away, heave away, heave away, heave away, and the drum to make a noise, for we're bound for Australia. Heave away, my bonny, bonny boys.
Uffa Fox singing Australia. Now, we talked about the films that you were doing when you left Stratford. A lot of stage plays as well in London, Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge, Chin Chin, The Right Honourable Gentleman, and Sleuth. And in New York, Tamburlaine and Galileo. And now, after a gap of 20 years, you're back with what is now the Royal Shakespeare Company. And for the Royal Shakespeare Company, you're playing in a 2-character Russian play, Old World, with Dame Peggy Ashcroft. You must have worked with her at the Old Vic, way back.
Well, it was my first season at the Old Vic, and I was playing small parts, and Peggy was the leading lady, and we did indeed have a few scenes. And the weird thing is that although I've known Peggy all these years, we've never actually played a scene together from that day to this. And it's most odd to find myself on this day. I've directed her in Lear,
Yes.
but never actually acted with her until now. Here we are.
You've got plenty of acting to do with her. Only
Yes.
2 characters.
Yes, I absolutely love it too. It's the most enormous fun to do. Tremendous fun.
Record number 6.
I needed something to remind me of America, to which I owe so much and which I care about so much. And I was in perplexity which to choose, but I've decided to plump for Ella Fitzgerald singing the Rodgers and Hart song, Manhattan.
And my fair lady is a terrific show, they say. We both may see it close someday. The city's glamour can never spoil the dreams of a boy and girl. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy.
Ella Fitzgerald. Now, this desert island situation, the lone castaway, surely before embarking on your wartime exploits in Albania, you must have taken a pretty intensive course in how to live off the land.
You mean before I went into Albania? No, not at all. Absolutely none. I was sent in virtually unprepared. I couldn't speak a word of Albanian, and, well, I did have some maps. That's about all.
No survival drill?
No, I had a pocket full of K rations. That was about all. No, it was a very harum-scarum affair.
Oh,
No, I'd have a... But I was a Boy Scout, for heaven's sake.
Oh,
and,
that's good.
That's good.
Would you try to escape?
Yes, I definitely would try to escape. There's far too much going on in the world which I find marvellous, and people I love, and I would emphatically resist being stuck on a perishing desert island.
Record number 7.
Let's have the voice of a whale Because various reasons. Partly I'd like to be reminded of Wales, which are in danger of being wiped out. And next, from a more practical reason, I thought that I might be able to make friends with the Wales, and I'll need friends, and if I had this record, I might learn some of their songs, and I might charm the Wales into helping me.
Now, your last record, what's that to be?
The other composer that I couldn't be without is Beethoven. It was a dreadful problem to know what to choose, but in the end I have decided for the Romance No. 2, played by David Oistrakh.
David Oistrakh as soloist in Beethoven's second Romance. If you could take only one disc, which would it be?
It would have to be the Mendelssohn.
And one luxury to take with you.
On this desert island, I have no doubt that the currents and the winds are going to wash up all kinds of flotsam. And amongst them, I'm confident, will be some sodden Admiralty charts. Sodden, I said,
Yes,
meaning
yes.
damp.
Yes.
And they will be washed up, and my old eyes now can no longer decipher the small print on Admiralty charts, so I must have a magnifying glass to make my way on that singing whale.
Mm-hmm. A very, very sensible precaution. And one book, apart from the Bible and Shakespeare and big encyclopedias.
I would like, please, the complete works of Edward Lear, whom I admire as a poet and love as a man, and it would be a continual reminder not to lose my sense of humour in those circumstances.
The complete works of Edward Lear. And thank you, Anthony Quayle, for letting us hear your Desert Island discs.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
You've been listening to a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For more podcasts, please visit bbc.co.uk/Radio 4.